What's going on, guys? My name is. Oh, I almost said Mr. Christopher. I'm used to that. I'm Chris, and I have on the call right now Seth. Say hi, Seth.
Boo. Very disgruntled, angry cow.
So we just got done watching Hell in the Cell, and this isn't going to be about the whole thing unless we turn it into the thing because we're really wanting to talk about one match in particular.
Let's be fair, okay? I mean, up until a certain point in the show, which we will inevitably get to in a moment, I honestly did not expect the Kabuki Warriors to win. I honestly kind of expected, Becky Lynch to lose. Thought that Sasha Banks was going to win that match. It made sense for her to win that match. What's the point of her turning heel and doing all this consistently? Points.
I think. All right, so I think having Becky Lynch win, it kind of sets up like one of those, albeit stupid, like, oh well, Monday Night Raw, we're live, and Sasha Banks is going to have a fair rematch, and that's when she's going to win the title. Whether it be tomorrow night, Monday night, or whether it be the Monday night draft.
Does it? It doesn't matter. Banks should have won. This was the moment that it needed to happen. The
Right.
fact they didn't, I don't think it matters at this point. Where if she wins eventually, it should have been at Hell in a Cell. That needed to be the payoff. Uh, they probably just want to do Becky versus Charlotte at Survivor Series. The only reason that those outcomes occurred the way they did.
What if that will be the thing, Charlotte versus Becky at Survivor Series, but you have Sasha Banks and Bayley both interfere in that match?
It's a fucking waste.
Yeah.
It's an absolute waste. WWE needs to be on game and enough of these stupid, foolish finishes. If you are trying to keep your viewers that you're gaining on SmackDown with Fox to be bringing your A game.
Mm-hmm.
Finishes and bullshit finishes are not the way to do it. They're the furthest thing from the way to do it.
Right. And as we saw with the Wednesday Night War that kicked off this past Wednesday, if they're not careful, they're going to lose a lot. Not just in terms of talent, but in terms of viewership, fans, and eventually all leading up to money.
The thing is WWE is not going to lose money in the near future.
No, not in the near future. I mean, look, how long was the WWF and WCW war?
Oh yeah, no,
What,
absolutely.
like through the whole '90s, and they could have lost that at any point, but that's when we got the DX and Stone Cold and The Rock and all those guys come in for the Attitude Era. And that's when it kicked off, and then you saw WCW went downhill hard.
WCW though had a different problem, which is a completely different conversation point.
Mm-hmm.
But I would leave it at that. That WCW had a lot of other issues right now.
Right.
WWE is going to be turning money for a long, long time, and that's despite themselves, despite terrible booking and the most bullshit finishes had one job tonight. Took the one job, what? 1% chance of screw up. 1% you went, that's the way we're going. That's some good shit, damn it.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. How is Vince McMahon not coming out in front of that crowd and collectively kissing every single person's ass right now? Because that crowd should have rioted.
I honestly think they would have if Seth Rollins had pinned Bray Wyatt and won that way. I honestly think that they would have had a riot because, well, we'll get to that point. Let's continue on with the card.
But fuck the rest of the card at this point. Rollins was already beating the Fiend on house and live shows. So, yeah,
was he though?
Those don't count, quote unquote. But he beating the Fiend clean, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I guess I did read that they were booking him on the house cards and all that, which didn't make sense to me.
Exactly. So that's why I said they had such a small sliver of failure opportunity. The Fiend is the most over thing in the company right now, bar none.
Right.
What I had to do was put the belt on the Fiend now.
But
we're going to lose. Wrestling fans are a fickle, ignorant bunch. Interest in the Fiend in a few months. That's just the way it happens. We will not. We can book it that we will not, as fans, lose interest. And it won't be fault of ours, and it won't necessarily be fault of WWE's. That's just the way the WWE wrestling fans are.
Right. But I want to stop you on this thought process here because, you know, the viewers might not know, but you know as much as anyone does, I am a huge supporter of Bray Wyatt. Absolutely love Bray Wyatt, what he does in the ring, you know, both creatively and entertainment-wise. But I told you that if they did put the belt on him, you'd have to think like this. How are they going to bring the championship on TV each and every week if that's what they wanted to do? And I said, well, let's have Bray Wyatt show up. Not The Fiend, but Bray Wyatt. And be like, well, you know, you guys call me a Universal Champion, but I'm not the Universal Champion. The Fiend is. The Fiend was the one that pinned Seth Rollins, not me. And I want to be stated on the record that you were adamantly against putting the title on Bray Wyatt this early in his character.
You're absolutely right. I was. But because my thought process is the Fiend should have been give him the belt. The Fiend should have been a looming figure that had always just been like, well, title. The fact that, okay, they're going the route of the Fiend challenging for the Universal Championship. If that's the route you're going to go, then go all in, goddammit.
But, you know, Vince McMahon never went all in on Bray Wyatt himself, you know. Look back at all the times he came close to being just the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Back when we had the one title. Look at how many times he got close to that, and then it wasn't until Vince said, okay, you can take the WWE over to SmackDown and we'll have the Universal, and that's going to be the top prize. And then they gave him the WWE title at that point.
So, in conjecture that, for a month, he was a transitional champion.
Mm-hmm.
And the issue that I have is that if he's, like I said, if WWE is going to go all in with the Fiend, and they don't even need to go all in with the Fiend, But if you're going to, again, the most over thing in your company, if you're going to put that character, he needs to go over. Seth Rollins is not going to get cheered.
Oh, no. Not after tonight.
He's not going to get cheered. There's nothing he can do to go, oh yeah, that's Seth Rollins guy. I kind of like him. No. People want him down with Seth Rollins as champion. And this, for all intents and purposes, needed to be the time. Into the draft, you needed to get a new champion for Raw, and that needed to be The Fiend. And then you could have sent Rollins over to SmackDown, done his burn it down stick over there.
But here's the thing though. Fox wants Bray Wyatt on SmackDown. And there's a huge debate right now because WWE wants him on Raw. But Fox wants him on SmackDown, and the WWE doesn't know what to do because if they don't give Fox some leeway of, okay, you have choices and you have options, then Fox can say, well, you know what, we just won't broadcast SmackDown. We'll have it on the streaming service that our customers have to pay for, not yours.
No, I'm sure part of the contract, SmackDown, Fox can't just pull SmackDown from that time slot. Cancel it, but it has to go a season. They can't just be like, maybe I'm wrong, but to the best of the way I understand it, is, yes, it's a multi-year deal, but you can't just pull it on the second episode. It has to at least finish the season. Excuse me. That being said, I think WWE needs to be able to set their foot down. Fox is going to probably get Cain Velasquez.
Oh yeah, big bet because of Brock Lesnar beating Kofi Friday night.
Yeah. If Fox wants it to be presented as a real sport, does not match that. Fiend is a character, and characters
are what?
are on Raw. They should be with Raw. That's where characters have traditionally been.
Right, but, you got to look at this. How much money could Fox make out of the viewership that they get on SmackDown? If Bray Wyatt, who is the biggest draw in the company right now, if he were to go over to SmackDown, Fox would have to get some cut of the viewership that SmackDown's going to get, and if that's what the people want to see, if people want to see Bray Wyatt and The Fiend, they will tune in to SmackDown just to see him on the Firefly Funhouse. Because that's, from what I'm reading, that is one of the most over segments in the WWE, is the Firefly Funhouse.
Absolutely, like I said, The Fiend and Bray Wyatt, the most over thing the company has. It would make sense that Fox would want The Fiend and Bray Wyatt. The WWE wants to put The Fiend on Raw. Fox take everything from Monday Night Raw. As a show, they have to run on Mondays. And the reality is, SmackDown's only 2 hours. Raw is 3 hours. You are setting yourself up for issue if you're going to completely stack a 2-hour show and thin out effect. You want your big stars on SmackDown, but you also want the people that can shine.
Right.
Who can take a 15-minute segment. Not every single big name can do that.
Right.
And I think, as much as I love The Fiend, I think he is better suited for Raw. I mean, like I told you, halfway through this match, I said I've got a bad feeling about this. This is not going to end well.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the match, too. So, it started off, the red lights and everything, kind of, I said this to you, I said it threw me off, because when you had messaged me about your bad feeling, I looked at my phone, and my eyes were so messed up from just looking at the red screen, because we had the lights turned off in the living room, so I was just watching the screen, and I looked at mine, and I was like, what?
Yeah, no. I get that.
And then, starting it off, Seth Rollins was trying to get an offense in, but Bray Wyatt just took control first off, the way he should have. And let's fast forward a little bit to where Rollins started to put stomps in and all that. Bray Wyatt no-sold it the way he should have. Because they kept talking the Fiend up as this monster that can't be stopped. And the kendo sticks. Look throughout the night that kendo sticks were used. Those hurt. And he ate them.
Bray Wyatt, by the way, just quick props. He ate both of those kendo shots. And that mask was so beneficial for that alone, because I'm sure he was writhing in the face.
Oh, I bet you he hit it, and it was just the contour of pain. The pained expression was hidden underneath the mask, that it worked in the absolute best benefit for the character. And the only expression you could see was Seth Rollins, which was the oh shit. And I think it was the first stomp he hit when he saw Bray Wyatt getting back up to his feet. The camera had to cut away from his face because he gave the oh shit type of expression, which was what the fuck.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, lost you.
The problem I end up having though with this match, the Fiend ended up on defense the entire match, or most of it. Granted, he was no selling. Okay, great, but he was still on the defensive, and from the one other match we have had and the attacks, that's just not, at least to me, seems like the Fiend should be portrayed. He was on the defense way too much, and that's as soon as on a defense he was on, I already knew. Hook or by crook, Rollins was walking out with that title again.
Right, but we're talking, Bray Wyatt should have been champion tonight, and to some degree, yes. But look at the storyline that they're going to be setting up. Okay, he bulldozed Finn Balor at SummerSlam. And then here's Seth Rollins throwing kendo sticks, chair shots, sledgehammers, toolboxes, ladders at the Fiend, and he cannot be stopped. The only reason why the match ended was because the referee, albeit I made the joke to you, Think about what you're doing. Think about what you're doing before he hit him with the sledgehammer. That's the only reason why it stopped, was because the referee said no.
It's a goddamn no disqualification match. It doesn't matter what the ref thinks.
Right.
The ref calling the match when Mick Foley got thrown through the cell. Not only by Undertaker, but by Triple H. They didn't call the match then.
No, and they brought that up throughout the night, albeit, it's Hell in the Cell. That structure has history, but they keep bringing it up, and they had Jerry out there saying, I was here when Mick Foley, mind you, not Mankind, Mick Foley was thrown off the cell by the Undertaker, and he said, I thought he was dead.
Exactly.
But I want to, but there at the end, just before he hit that sledgehammer, I was like, what if the lights went out, the screeching was heard, and when the lights came back on, Bray Wyatt had him in the mandible claw, and I was like, that would be how you'd sell the Fiend being this absolute, like, I can do this whenever I want, not just when I want to come out and scare you.
That's also not the type of match WWE books. Even with The Undertaker, they never did that. Never used the gong during a match. Never occurred during the match. There was always before, saving like, oh, he's come up from the ring bullshit. But they don't book mysticism during a match. Sell during the match.
Right.
Fiend should have... You can't cut it any other way. There is no story that you can lay that will make... Oh, yeah, no. Let's have the ref call a match off with no disqualification last night because this narrative makes sense. Nah, hell no. Get the hell out of here.
But you kind of look at it like this. All right? Like you said, Fox wanted to be presented as a real sport. And I feel like before the Fox merger, should this have happened before, the referee would have been yelling at Seth, not ringing the bell. He would have just been yelling at Seth. Like, you can't do this. No, stop. Once is enough. Once is enough. But, Fox wants it to be presented as a real sport. So when you have another person taking another person, I don't care how many items are over their head, and then you hit them with a sledgehammer, you're supposed to believe that, okay, the referee's got to stop this match right now, right?
Okay, but let me throw this at you. Why the hell then didn't the ref stop the match when he hit him when he brought that mallet out?
Because he never hit him over the head with it.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The ref was telling him to stop before he ever hit him. We're so damn concerned about being hit with a hammer of any kind. Why didn't he stop the damn match when Bray Wyatt hit Rollins with the damn mallet at the outside?
That's very true. I mean, if you could...
that mallet was more damaging than the goddamn sledgehammer.
Oh, absolutely, because the way it was made, they had a square or rectangle or whatever, and it had the point at the top, the edge at the top. When he drove it into Seth, you could hear him choke like he was choking. You could hear him coughing.
Acting is all that was.
But
no, but that's the point. So damn concerned, then he should have fucking DQ'd of the Fiend when he hit him with the mallet. But no, just did it because it didn't matter where Rollins was going to hit him.
Well, no, but we live in the time where when you're playing any kind of sport, whether it be football, soccer, even in racing, NASCAR, and as long as you're in a sport that your brain is in a potential damaging area, there's going to be repercussions and safety measures put out. And now here's Seth Rollins deliberately hitting him over the head, and you know the WWE has a lawsuit. I don't even think it's out of the window yet. They still have a lawsuit pending for concussions. The NFL lost.
Why didn't we throw the match out when Sasha Banks threw the chair and it hit Becky in the head?
She braced it. If you look back, and she threw it.
Doesn't matter. Same principle. It hit her in the head. The match should have been stopped. Wrestling is a staged. It was. I don't care if you're presenting it as a real sport. It's still staged at the end of the day. The scene that you were setting was, okay, Seth Rollins has had to go above and beyond to try and put the Fiend down. Understandable. But triple standard throughout the night, suddenly, just because that's the narrative that you needed, ref calls the match in a no disqualification. There's no disqualification. The ref can't stop the match. It can only end via pinfall or submission. That is it. You can't stop the match just because the ref is like, oh, I don't like this. Seth Rollins shouldn't be doing that. It's not your goddamn call, Striping Man.
Striping Man.
Count 1, 2, 3. Oh, he tapped out, ring the bell. That's his job.
But there was another moment in WWE history where the referee fucked up the match. I can't remember what match it was. I know it was recently. The referee called for like a rope break or disqualification, and that wasn't even a part of the match. Like, you shouldn't have called it for that.
It happens. Real life things like that happen. Like when Evan Bourne got injured and Chris Jericho tried to do a quick finish and the ref was like, oh, rope break, and Jericho got himself DQ'd to get the match ended.
Yeah, because, and you could hear him, you know, I went back.
Damn it!
Yeah, I went back and watched that match, I don't know how many months ago, as part of like a top 10, and you could hear him saying, he's hurt.
Absolutely, that's what I said. Accidents happen. This wasn't an accident. This was the narrative. The ref is stopping the match. He is calling the match. The ref can't do that in a no DQ. Oh, well, this is a street fight. Oh, well, I don't like that you guys are fighting on those rafters. I'm just going to call the match. No, you can't do that. It's a stupid narrative. They've bent the rules to serve their own purpose, and that's ridiculous.
Right.
Rules in place just to go by them only when it's convenient.
I think it's... I don't know how I want to say this. You know, watching that match, they were more worried about Bray's safety, and he was throwing caution to the wind, albeit not as much as Seth Rollins throwing himself against the cage like 5 times, but he was throwing caution to the wind for as much as he can. You know, and you have to realize that he okays what happened in that ring. He said, "All right, hit me over the head with that chair. Hit me over the head with that ladder. Hit me over the head with that toolbox. Smack that hammer down." You have to realize he said okay to all that.
But the hammer was probably a prop. They don't do live hammers.
What, you mean sledgehammer?
Yeah.
No, they have to. Triple H used a prop hammer once, and he hurt whoever he used it on, and he went back to using... Yeah,
it was there, and it was also the only time he ever used a prop.
Right. So...
Credit. Let's say it's a 25% chance it was a prop. the reality still sits. Narrative of that match is a no disqualification. Zero authority to say, I don't like what you're doing. You're pushing it too far. I'm stopping the match. Fuck that noise. It's bullshit, and it is the stupidest fucking narrative I have ever heard in my life. By the way, I feel bad for you for trying to defend this match, because that's what you're doing. I feel so bad for you.
I'm not trying to defend the match. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Do I feel like it got a bullshit ending? Absolutely. I told you in the message, I was like, that's fucking bullshit.
It was, but there's no devil's advocate in this.
No, but let's look at the final moments, not of the match, but like of that final bit where he puts him in the mandible claw after getting up from all of the shit that just happened. He gets up to say like the ref was a fucking idiot. Puts him in the mandible claw.
He was just playing possum the whole time. I get that.
Yeah, but then he puts him in the mandible claw and then proceeds to throw him out of the ring and pull apart the protective padding on the concrete. He hit Sister Abigail on it, I think, once or twice.
It was one. He hit the Sister Abigail and then the mandible claw and the blood packet so Rollins would bleed.
Well, I don't know if that was a blood packet or not, because
it definitely wasn't real. It was way too much to be real.
You know, I mean, at any point, Seth Rollins could have bit his tongue.
He could have, but that kind of blood would have been like bit through and off. No, that was a blood packet. That wasn't. It was too profuse. It was too. That was a plant.
Because when I saw the blood that was coming out of the mouth and that was already smeared on the concrete, I think it was there, or maybe the other part of the pad, I was like, fucking hell, dude!
It was a cheap attempt to try and send the fans home happy.
It was. That was a cheap excuse, because all the while he's getting beat down by Bray Wyatt, you heard the fans more clearly than I could, because I couldn't understand what they were saying.
Restart the match. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
The match shouldn't have ended. Carcass back in the ring and pinned him. 15 refs out there. One of them has to know the goddamn rules.
And you'd made the point, you know, we talked about a little bit ago where nothing Seth Rollins can do to get cheered now. That's more so now, because all the while his offense was going on, you could hear the crowd booing him. Like you said, the crowd turned on him tonight, and rightfully so.
One moment for a small break. I told you I didn't lose your bowl. Where was it? Like,
Okay.
Small side story that isn't me screaming, raving about the Fiend losing this match. Bowl. It's a Lion King bowl, and I was eating some chicken flavored biscuits out of it. Highly recommend those. Not a sponsor.
Sponsor us, please, so we can make money.
She came back from her mom's. Blamed me. I said, it's out there somewhere. Match, and I'm not able to look as well as I should have.
Too busy raving about the finish.
It wasn't even the Fiend match. It was, what was it? the Kabuki Warriors had just finished their match.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna die.
Let's keep going on this. The fans turned on Seth Rollins, and like I said, rightfully so. They had every reason to cheer for Bray Wyatt because he was advertised to be this unstoppable force, which is what they presented, but they presented the unstoppable force being stopped.
They stopped dead, mind you.
Yeah.
Just like that. That's absolutely not with the Fiend.
Yeah, that's not what they were advertising when they're like, Seth, you want a visualization of what's going to happen? Let's take Rambling Rabbit here as you and put him in the Hell in a Cell. And he's in there and he goes, and the part of the Fiend is going to be the buzzard. Yeah. And mind you, comedically affected stuffing just goes flying out of him. And he's like, ah! That's not what we were presented.
But, I mean, and I get that. I understand that because, of course, in a promo, Bray Wyatt is going to be like, oh, well, it's going to be close. No, Wyatt's going to say, yeah, I'm going to absolutely murder you.
Yeah.
I understand that.
But I'm not saying this from the promo aspect of Bray Wyatt's telling you it's going to happen and it's not going to happen. I'm saying this like WWE's like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. This is the Fiend. Look back at SummerSlam. Sent Finn Balor away for months. That's his reason, not the real life reason of him needing time off. Bray Wyatt sent him away.
The kayfabe Finn Balor is he whipped his ass so bad he disappeared for 2 months and now won't come back to the main roster. He's staying on NXT to avoid the Fiend. That's how bad of an ass whipping the Fiend laid onto Finn Balor. He won't even come back to Raw or SmackDown.
I mean, but now here's my question. Let's stop talking about tonight. Let's look into the future of Bray Wyatt. Do you think there's any way they could save this from what happened tonight? Do you think there's any point, whether it be Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, or anywhere in between, that they can save it and be like, the Fiend is the force that's going to change everything?
Bray Wyatt has been a so often dropped ball. Was supposed to be that redemption. This match was supposed to be that redemption. And he may win the title Survivor Series because that's the next non-banter pay-per-view. But it's not going to mean anything. But he should have won it at Hell in a Cell. That's what it's going to be. We have to, and that's if they both stay on the same brand.
Right. But let's look at the grander scheme of things here in the coming months. Survivor Series is coming up, brand warfare. That means champion versus champions. What if the reason why they booked this finish, not just to keep the Fiend looking strong, but what if it was to protect the Fiend from Brock Lesnar? Because Brock Lesnar wasn't going to put him over.
Lesnar. You don't need to protect the Fiend from Brock Lesnar. Imagine the no-selling that you would have gotten, the banter level of no-selling you would have gotten between the Fiend and Brock Lesnar. It'd have been great.
But as well as I do, Brock Lesnar would have told Vince, I'm winning this match.
And Vince, and the thing is at the end of the day, Lesnar's still contracted. You're losing? Either he loses or the title and fires him.
But Vince says that he is a big money draw. That's why they save him for the premiere of SmackDown, WrestleMania, SummerSlam. He's big money draw, and that's why they don't use him a whole lot.
But Lesnar's also only got left
How much?
like a year or two. So, is it worth it to protect him like this?
I would say yes, because, like you said, the banter of no selling would have been fantastic. But what if it was on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania? What?
By then,
Well, not if you book the feud right. You know.
they can't. Fuck! Look at Daniel Bryan and The Miz. That was the best feud they could have done, and even Daniel Bryan was like, when they had that blow off match at whatever the hell the pay-per-view was. Like, do you guys really think WWE can book this to WrestleMania and still be this good? I don't. Their own wrestlers know that they can't book that long term. The closest to long term booking they get is Cena and The Rock at WrestleMania next year.
Twice in a lifetime, mind you.
Twice, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's the closest to long term booking we've gotten. Book, they screw it up. That's why Chris Jericho left. Said it his damn self.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to close WrestleMania for the Universal Championship. Goldberg came back and suddenly is in the title picture, and Owens and Jericho got booted to the second match on the card, which is generally the worst spot to be in.
Right.
Book The Fiend from now to WrestleMania, and people still give a shit. I don't care how much control Wyatt has.
But I think they're going to take this as a, okay guys, we fucked up. Let's figure something new out. You know, I can't guarantee that this is going to happen. But at the next meeting, which should be tomorrow, but at the next board meeting of sorts before Raw, they should get together and say, all right, guys, so we fucked up last night. The fans are saying it. And now we have to live through that backlash. We need to fix it. But how can you fix it without some bullshit magic being explained?
The thing is they have lost the fans' confidence.
Right.
This was just like I said. I've said countless times already. This was a simple. It was too simple. Go in, have Bray Wyatt beat the tar out of Seth Rollins, and he walks out with the belt. That's it. That's all that needed to happen. Only did we stray, we possibly could have, threw the rules of our own damn match out to make it happen. Ridiculous.
You know, I'm looking back because I'm on Twitter right now. And the WWE just tweeted, the official just called for the bell at WWE Rollins has gone too far. Hashtag Hell in the Cell. And I'm looking through the comments on this one thing. And people are calling it a pathetic ending. Like you and I are. You know, it's a bullshit ending. But someone hit the nail right on the fucking coffin. Took the really weird and inexplainable way out.
Absolutely. That is. How do you? So this is the other thing that I look at when I look at a wrestling match. Okay, imagine you have somebody who has just watched episode of SmackDown on Fox, and they're like, "Man, I'll check into this WWE Hell in a Cell thing tonight or on Sunday." You go and you watch, and you see all this brutalizing stuff. Again, mind you, you see Bray Wyatt bring that mallet out and crack Rollins with it. You can see that this match has no disqualification. You can see that you can do whatever you want in this match. And then you see the ref call for the bell. And booing. So you know that doesn't make sense. Are you likely to tune in again on next Friday?
I wouldn't.
There you have it.
Like if I was,
no matter what you do next week.
If I was the casual fan that was intrigued by SmackDown, and well, I guess I shouldn't say casual, I should say new. A new potential fan got intrigued by all the SmackDown on Fox that's going on and saw Bray Wyatt just pop up and take out Seth Rollins. I feel like this was terrible because you've showed me this monster that people keep talking about that popped up on NFL advertisements that freaked people out. The same monster that popped up there now has to be protected by the referee.
Yeah, it would have been better for him to take that sledgehammer shot and he kick out the absolute last second. That would have been better than what we got. Even if it was 3.1, like that ref's hand hits and Wyatt is kicking out and it was just a minute second too late. That still would have been better, not by much, but it still would have been better than, because the person who has never SmackDown before, the person who maybe watched back in the Attitude Era and decided to catch SmackDown on Fox, or not, I'll go check out Hell in a Cell. The UFC fans who might have caught part of SmackDown decided to check out Hell in a Cell.
Right.
Giving them a reason to come back.
Yeah, whatever reason the new and returning fans came back to SmackDown, if they saw what The Fiend did on SmackDown, they're expecting something similar for tonight. And here we are. Nope. Just get a bullshit ending.
And then every time you see The Fiend, legends. Every time you've seen The Fiend, he is dropping every person in front of him. Now his second match, I stress that, second match, he's having to be protected by the ref in a match
that there's no disqualification.
Exactly.
I found another comment. This person said, I mean, let's just stomp 300 billion, whatever number this is, because it's just 3245 repeated times, pedigree, use every weapon under the ring. let Seth look like a monster, beat the fuck out of the Fiend, who clearly had him easily beat, but they call the bell, and then, and only then, does Seth get ended, just to protect the fucking belt. And then someone said, for a minute I thought he was going to use the toolbox to draw some kind of exorcism circle.
I would have even been better banter than what we got. Exorcise the Fiend.
You know, when he picked up the belt and I heard, or not the belt, the toolbox, and I heard all the tools, I was like, you're going to hit him a couple times, open it up, and get like a fucking wrench or something, and then do something like that.
Shit. Wyatt probably got more damage from the tools flying out of the damn toolbox than what was actually making contact with him.
Yeah, because at that point he had a chair and a ladder on top of him. So the box, I think the box would have been more of a dangerous weapon because not only do you have the weight of the box, but you have the weight of the tools. And I honestly think that those items in that box were used for the ring. Because that
all ring tools.
And I just doesn't make sense to me that they'd have a toolbox under the ring.
Oh, actually, it actually makes a lot of sense. I've actually helped set up and tear down ring before. It makes sense because there are tools. It's just easier instead of back and running them out when the show's over. Just keep the stuff right there. Taking the ring and stuff down, and be like, oh well, where'd Billy Joe John put the toolbox for the ring? Oh, well, he took it back by catering or whatever. It's just right there under the ring.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's.
I mean, I think the initial shock of the whole bullshit ending, it's come and gone. And now what everyone here sees on my face and can only imagine on yours is that setting of, this is reality. This is the worst possible timeline. And this is what we have.
We could be living in a timeline with Bray Wyatt as champion. Instead, we're living in a timeline, albeit interestingly, that has a Wendy's pen and paper game. Close second, but the fact that our timeline, Bray Wyatt lost. That's the bullshit thing. He probably technically won the match.
Yeah, if they call it for disqualification, if they call it to stop the match in disqualification, Seth Rollins lost that.
And then it'll be considered a no contest. There'll be no winner declared at all.
I mean that's the only way to protect both people's records is no contest, no winner, no loser, just referee stoppage. And that's probably what they're going to call it. They're not even going to call it a no contest. They're going to call it referee stoppage.
I don't know. It literally just...
No, they're calling it The Fiend wins by disqualification. It is determined that was a disqualification finish.
I just don't have I don't have an answer.
No, like... I just don't know.
And that's the thing. I really, truly had a good answer for this. just ball is so far removed from where it needs to be. There's just no answer other than the ridiculousness and the complete and utter loss of faith. I don't see any way WWE can twist this, and no, I'm down with this.
Okay, so Bleacher Report, their headline reads, WWE leaves both Seth Rollins, Bray Wyatt looking weak after a horrific Hell in a Cell ending. Would you consider that fact?
Yeah, kind of. Because it's a difficult situation. Rollins, the fact that the Fiend no-sold almost all of Rollins' offense makes Rollins look weak.
Mm-hmm.
The refs stopped the match for the Fiend. I don't know.
Like, I mean, you and I both know we're still going to watch after this.
Oh, I don't watch. That's the caveat.
Well, that's the thing. You don't watch Raw and SmackDown because, you got rid of cable, but you will look back onto reviews, like What Culture's reviews of Raw and SmackDown.
Absolutely. I get all of my wrestling info, ups and downs with Simon Miller. That's definitely a plug. But and that's the thing. My wrestling from either What Culture or my assistant manager and I are both wrestling fans on Tuesday, and he'll be like, "Dude, did you see Raw?" I'm like, "No, I watched a review, but let's talk about it anyway, like I watched it."
Yeah,
I don't watch for this very reason. Taking away the fact I don't have cable. I don't have a need to. Okay, so let's 4 be 12. So what, about 12 hours just on Raw? Wasted 12 hours of my life. And then be this disappointed.
Right.
Another 12 hours.
But now let me ask you this. What if, say, you're one of the... We're going to use you for an example. You got rid of cable. You don't watch Raw and SmackDown. What if Bray Wyatt had one? Would that have been enough to send you back to get some form of cable so that way you could watch Raw and SmackDown?
Let's it's a fair bet, because there is maybe one thing that can happen in professional wrestling that would get me to consider getting cable, and that's Edge coming back to full time. Being said, so let's play the same game, but just assuming I have cable. If it won, I would be more inclined to power it and watch the show. And if I had, like, say I had cable right now with DVR, would not watch. I might watch SmackDown. The things I'm interested in are like The Fiend. I can go on YouTube I want right now. I don't have a desire. The product isn't good enough for me to sit down and give it Monday, 2 hours on Friday, watch NXT. So I'm not even going to count that.
Yeah, outside of the fact that you said Finn Balor came back Wednesday, I was probably just going to use Wednesday to be like, okay, what's the competition doing? What's AEW doing?
Well, and you've got Ciampa's back too.
Yeah. Which I didn't hear about that. I didn't hear anyone talking about Ciampa. It was all about Finn Balor.
Ciampa came back at the closing seconds of the show, and he just stared at Adam Cole and the gold.
Because this is what turns me off for NXT. Their first episode on USA, they had like an hour on USA, and then they had an hour on the network.
Or, you know why?
Or something along those natures. Like, why alienate your viewers that way?
I can tell you why. It's obvious why. They wanted to get a jump on Wednesdays against AEW. So, but USA still had suits in that second hour slot that they couldn't move. 100% reason why is because WWE wanted to be in that time spot to go directly against AEW.
But I feel like NXT had announced their time slot before AEW did.
AEW had announced their time slot before NXT did.
Okay.
Oh, NXT isn't even doing takeovers. They're not announcing takeovers until NXT or AEW announces when they're doing pay-per-view shows. And trailing rumor is NXT will be airing their pay-per-views the same time as AEW.
I just feel like that's a bad idea. There's
a good idea.
I mean, what they're doing is what WCW was doing. And look at how well that turned out for WCW.
I know.
So here's what I observed about NXT. So Raw and SmackDown were the answer. Well, Raw was the answer to Nitro. SmackDown came about at the tail end of that war. And that was just
SmackDown
to get...
was also an answer to WCW Thunder.
Right. I forgot about that. But that came about, and I was like, oh, okay, well, they're putting out a better product, and by 1 year time, it was done. It was over, and Vince bought him out. But now, going through the time, you've got Ring of Honor, New Japan, and CZW, if you want to throw them in there.
I'm going to stop you real quick, though. I wouldn't even bring up Ring of Honor right now. Because their last pay-per-view, 100 buys. That's it.
Well, I'm not talking about recent. I'm talking about between WCW going out of business to now. And you have to admit, in that time frame, Ring of Honor came up big.
Oh, yeah.
And New Japan had always been big across the seas.
New Japan was always big in Japan. It's just now finally finding root over here.
Right. But what I'm getting to is when WWE brought NXT to TV. It was that stupid, god-awful shit like, oh, you gotta do challenging, blah, 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 blah. It was great for 1 or 2 episodes, but then they made a whole season out of it, and then it just grew into proportions stupidly worse. And like, okay, NXT's not doing anything for anyone anymore, so let's just take it out. But then FCW got a revamp, and they changed it to NXT. And so the WWE took their developmental territory, NXT, and they slowly but surely turned it into their answer for independent wrestling. Because if you look at the arena that they're using, which I don't think is really an arena, I think it's a studio over in Full Sail University. It's the same size as Ring of Honor venues and all the independent venues like that. You've got a passionate crowd like any other independent site. And then on top of that, you have them competing with Ring of Honor and things of that nature. Not head to head, but they're still competing.
Hardly.
And now they're taking NXT, which was their answer to independent wrestling, because they know what the fans were like, because their fans were watching it, and thus the wrestlers that are signed to WWE were watching it. So like, okay, well, here's our answer to it. Watch us. And now they're taking that and trying to make it an answer to AEW.
Yeah, absolutely. AEW is essentially the answer to what we just watched.
Yeah. And I watched the premiere episode of it. And from what I saw, I would say that AEW, yeah, they're new, but they can put on something that makes more sense than what we watched tonight. I've heard that Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega are going to have some form of feud, and watching the premiere, watching Jon Moxley interrupt Omega, albeit there was no disqualification in that match because some outside interference interfered with the action in the ring, but that's what it was supposed to be. The referee let everything happen because it's what the fans want.
Well, and again, the narrative. The ref is given the narrative. If they were to go against the narrative, they wouldn't have a job.
Well, I don't know about the AEW referees or anything, but WWE has stated to their referees that if someone's shoulders were to be pinned for 3 seconds, or if someone were to tap out, and if it wasn't even supposed to be that way, still call it.
Yeah, that's reffing 101. You call the match. Doesn't matter.
Right.
You call the match.
They don't get the story of this person's supposed to win or this you call the match.
They generally know. What
yeah.
I'm saying is the narrative, like with the Kenny Omega thing, the narrative is there. They were supposed to brawl away, and the match was supposed to continue. They didn't want that match to stop because they had Jack Hagar coming in, which, by the way, is I just don't like that.
I don't get why he would go there, and the way he came into it, I felt was kind of forced, which then made it stupid. But
that's another talk for another day. the AEW thing right now, but to that point, that narrative required the ref to ignore it.
Right.
The narrative required the ref to break rules and call the match.
Right. I'm just trying to think if, because I can't remember if the referee was present in the ring at the time, if they were checking up on one of the competitors when it all went down. But right.
Well, like I said, I don't probably due to work schedule, between work schedule and just not having cable. AEW or NXT, or probably won't watch SmackDown live, at least. I can catch the replays on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
There's just, this finish is the very reason why I don't make an effort to watch anymore. Why should I? Everything was there saying that the Fiend is the most over person. This is the time.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I don't see how they can bounce back. I really don't.
Can't.
Yeah,
Maybe
you know,
your point will be a shallow attempt at making amends for tonight.
I feel like if
They've
this
lost.
was back in the 90s, back in the Monday Night War, when WCW was releasing the results of Raw, I feel like we would be having the same conversation right now about WCW, about how they're dropping the ball, because now you're giving your viewers a potential reason to go watch, and that's eventually what led to the downfall, was because they said, oh yeah, they're going to have Mick Foley win their big title, and everyone ran over there.
Yep, the famous line. That'll put asses in seats.
It sure as hell did.
I mean, the thing is, you don't want to get sidetracked into a completely different topic at this point.
No, but I mean, like, let's rant right back to where it is. That whole, like, oh, they're giving out the results of the previous of the current episode of Raw. That's basically correlating to, yeah, we have our own story. Watch that, not what anyone else is putting up. And that's exactly what WWE did tonight. Here's our narrative, but we're going to drop the ball. Just please don't go and watch AEW. So, well, I think we should end it here before we keep going on a merry-go-round of tangents of wrestling.
Yeah, I think there's other topics we can hit. Just that we lightly touched on with this.
Yeah, like it's essentially history repeating itself, and that's where it just keeps going around. We talk about one thing here that happened tonight, and we look back at what was going on in the 90s, because the same thing is happening now.
I wouldn't say it's that extreme. I don't think I would find an extreme equivalent to this, but excuse me, there are mistakes, and And like I said at the beginning of this, WWE is going to make money right now.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say about that, man.
Yep. So, all right. I think we'll end it here. If you like the conversation, leave a like. Comment down below your thoughts on Hell in the Cell and that bullshit finish. Subscribe if you aren't subscribed. Ring the bell for notification when we upload again. And we'll see all you guys in the next video. Bye.
Later.